Me too.
Maybe they can't log on until 7:30.
Maybe.
All right, I just started recording, everyone.
Okay, we'll get started in a minute. Set my phone to stun. Okay, it's 7:30. Why don't we get this ball rolling? Why don't we start? So call to order the Town of Lyme WPCA meeting. I'm going to go through and I'd like each member of the WPCA to say their name so they can recognize that they're here. So we start off. How about I call the name and then you just acknowledge that you're here. So Steve Tsunami, can you say your name?
Here.
Excellent.
Steve Tsunami, here.
Doug? James?
Jim Burge is here.
Joe?
Joe Carpentino, here.
Andrea? You might be on mute, Andrea. It doesn't look like it. Well, I see Andrea's here, but we'll move on. Dimitri, are you here?
Dimitri is here, yeah.
Okay. Frank, are you here?
Yeah, Frank Shan's here.
I don't know. Is Rob here? I thought Rob was here.
He was on briefly.
I'll go back to Andrea. Andrea, are you here? Maybe I can text her. So Rob is having computer issues. Okay, we'll let Rob come back. Let me see here. Hang on one second, everybody. Oh boy. Okay, so I think Andrea is here, but she's not responding verbally. And
I'm here.
Oh,
Sorry, I was on mute. I'm here.
okay, welcome.
Yeah.
So let's get started with the meeting. Rob will join us when he gets his computer fixed up. The first order is I'm going to run through the agenda for those who have not seen it, or those who maybe haven't read it completely, and then we'll get into each item. So we have the call of order we just had. We're going to have approval of minutes. We're going to have a budget update. We're going to have a business of the Soundview area and some sub components. We're going to do a correspondence. We'll do new business, a public comment, and adjournment. So at this point, I'd like for a motion to approve the minutes from May 12th.
I'll make the motion, approve the minutes. Dmitry Tulshinsky.
Dimitri made a motion, and did Joe second it?
Sure. I'll second it.
Thank you, Joe. Got that. Discussion. Any comments, concerns, questions about the unapproved minutes that I've sent out on May 12th? Okay, I'm not hearing any. So, I can't see all the WPC members, so we're going to have to do a roll call. All those in favor, I'll call your name and you say you favor yes or no. So Frank, are you in favor?
Yes.
Doug, are you in favor?
Yes.
Jim, are you in favor?
Yes.
Joe, are you in favor?
Yes.
Andrea, are you in favor?
Yes.
Dimitri, are you in favor?
Yes.
Steve, are you in favor?
Yes.
Is anyone not in favor? Any WPCA committee members not in favor of approving the minutes? Okay, motion carried. Next item. So this is the item 3. It's the budget update and expenses. There's 2 sub-bullets: budget update and planning, and review of any new invoices. I'll hand the microphone over to Doug. Would you like to give us a synopsis of the update?
We had one charge hit the budget in April. No, April. I'm losing my mind here. For $1,600, it was a legal expense, and I believe it was for work done on the easement. But I haven't seen a copy of the invoice yet. We're waiting to get a copy of that, and then I'll verify that. It was an expected charge that wasn't a surprise to me. That was the only invoice that came in, so I guess Jennifer didn't get paid last month. And as far as new invoices, we just found out just for tonight that we have an invoice sitting, waiting to be paid in July for Carmody. That's the online septic pumping thing that Jennifer uses that we installed last year. It's for, I think, $2,900. That I believe is what we agreed to. That's what's in the budget. Nothing has changed in any of the carryover accounts. And when we get to the status of the co-sharing agreement, we'll probably talk about where we are on that, and I'll defer that one to Rich. Any questions about the budget? Hearing none, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Doug. Moving on to item 3. Item 4, business. The Soundview Sewer and Miscellaneous Area B is the main part. Should be known that's the engineering firm Woodard & Curran is starting to survey the roads for elevation, where the pipes would be located. They're going to...
Can you interrupt for 1 second, Rich?
Yes.
I just got an email that the access code for the public is... So I'm going to text Michelle, but just so you're aware of that, and I'm going to try and fix that right now.
Okay, so why don't we pause for a moment? I thought a couple of our members called in on a regular landline. Dimitri, you called in with the phone number, right?
Yes.
I called in with the phone number too, Andrea.
So I just looked at the meeting information to see that the agenda is the same as what the meeting information is.
Is it a match?
I'm going to go look at the town website too. I know people are going to think we're trying to pull something, but we're not.
I'll reply to the email, and I texted Michelle Noren. I did think it was odd that there weren't much more members of the public.
I'm looking at the phone number.
Michelle, Michelle's trying it right now. She's trying to play it. Andrea, if you're doing the video and the phone, you have to hang up the phone.
I'm going to get off the phone now.
So I don't know why it's not working, but the website on the Town of Lyme says it's the correct.
Michelle's
in and-
trying to call in. Let's see.
You know what? At the top of the meeting, it's correct. And there's a related June 9th, and it's the wrong number. And it's last month's number.
On which?
So when you scroll, so at the top of the screen on the Connecticut, it's correct. And then it says underneath related agenda, and it has submitted June 5th, 2020, and that is the wrong phone number. That is last month's phone number.
Okay.
So I don't know what happened. I know I'll get blamed for it. So on the website, there's two numbers.
Okay, because my neighbor here usually was coming to the public, from public, and she said she's going to call in. And I said, if you know the phone number, she said, I'm going to take from the website.
Yeah, so the website has two numbers. One's correct and one's wrong. And
Maybe,
you know,
this might be the problem.
it's if you look at it, I don't know if the meeting invitation at the top is thing and then the agenda is from last month. I mean, if you
Hey
open
everybody,
up,
it's Michelle.
Oh, Michelle just called in.
I just called in and it worked fine with what's on the website.
yeah, but the website has last month's number on the agenda when you click on it. It has a
On the
prompt
agenda?
ID of 716, and the prompt ID should be 129. It says it correctly at one spot and then incorrectly in another spot.
So that's, yeah, however the agenda was submitted to the minutes folks, they put it up. Above that, the access code is correct. It ends in 9637.
Yeah, but I have the
used to copy
agenda
on.
that I submitted and it's correct. So I mean,
That's odd.
I don't know if there's something we could, well, I mean, the website is correct. Just if you go to the top of the website, not scroll down.
Yep, it is, but I can also correct it right now, correct the agenda too.
Okay.
And I'll send an email to the person that texted me, that emailed to me.
Oh,
Okay.
So,
Okay, I'm gonna update it right now. Otherwise, is everything okay?
yeah.
Okay. Just a second.
I'm sure I'm going to hear about this. It was not intentional. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
And what we
I
can
just
just
checked my email.
start the meeting all over again, just for completeness.
We could. You want to do that? We could do that.
Yeah.
So we'll wait for Michelle to let us know it's been updated.
Yep, I'm working on it right now.
And there's a caller user number 6. Somebody called in. Maybe they have.
I think user number 6 is Michelle.
Oh, I'm the number 6?
I think you are.
Okay.
Yes, you are.
All right.
And Rob McCarthy, you're on. Although we can't hear you. I'm looking forward to taking this headset off. It's only been on my head for like 8 hours.
Okay, it's updated on your agenda.
Thank you.
There's a call number 7 now.
Okay.
all right. I've emailed the person who alerted me. And so hopefully they'll.
Okay. So,
There we we go. All right, we've got some callers now.
All right. So I'm going to give it a minute and we'll get started. Again.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank
Michelle.
you. Thank you guys for the quick
You're
thinking
welcome.
and figuring it out.
No problem. All right. Jen, just text me if you need me again.
Okay, will do.
Okay. Bye.
It's good to know her number, huh?
After the first time I got Tim's number and your number, Rich, so.
Yeah. Okay. Is it ready to, some callers are coming in.
I see two, three.
Yeah, I'm
Oh, I just muted the person because, you want me to unmute Rich or?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, you've, on the website for WPCA, on the agenda, the access code is incorrect.
We know.
Thank
We
you. We figured that out. We're going to
There are
restart the
people trying to
meeting.
dial in so there are people trying to dial in who don't know now what the access code is.
Understood.
And
Understood. We're going to restart the meeting is what we're doing. So we're just giving people a chance to dial in. We'll give it a couple more minutes.
I'm not sure how they're going to do that.
We updated the website with the correct information just now.
So you want to get started again? All right. So we'll call to order the WPCA meeting again at 7:45 due to technical difficulties starting earlier. We're going to repeat what we've done so far. First off, I want to explain, I think, what happened. Somehow the website had two numbers for dial-in. One was correct and one was incorrect. I'm not sure how that happened. I have a copy of my agenda I submitted and it's correct. We corrected the agenda on the website after we figured it out. So we're going to start that in a minute. I'd like to go around again to the WPCA members and have you say your name. When I call your name, just say your name so people can maybe understand your voice, and we can also document who is on the meeting. So Doug, could you introduce yourself?
Doug Wilkinson, I'm on the meeting.
Thank you. Andrea, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Andrea Lombard, and I'm present at the meeting.
Thank you. Frank, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, this is Frank Chan. I'm the vice chair.
Thank you. Jim, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, this is Jim Burge. I'm present.
Thank you. Joe, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Joe Carpentino, and I am here.
Thank you. Dimitri, could you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Dmitry Tolchinsky, member of WPCA, and I'm here.
Steve, could you introduce yourself?
Steve Tsunami, member.
Thank you. Rob McCarthy, I think, was on, and he texted me before he has computer problems. Rob, are you online? So Rob was attending, but he's currently not online. So those are the WPCA members. I'm going to go through the agenda, verbalize it before we start on each item. We have a call to order, approval of minutes, a budget update, a business, which is Soundview Sewer Miscellaneous Area B projects and some sub-bullets, correspondence, new business, public comment, and adjournment. So we'll go into the first item, approval of minutes. I have a motion to approve the minutes from May 12th, please.
I'm making a motion to approve the minutes, Dmitry Tolchinsky.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
So Doug seconded. You'll get your chance, Joe, sometime.
I was muted.
Yeah. Open discussion. Are there any questions, concerns, comments about the minutes from May 12th? No. Okay. All those in favor, I'm going to poll you to see if you were in favor. Obviously, you don't have to say yes. You can say no. But for the motion to approve the minutes from May 12th, Andrea, do you say yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Doug, do you say yes or no?
Yes.
Frank, yes or no?
Yes.
Jim, yes or no?
Yes.
Joe, yes or no?
Yes.
Dimitri, yes or no?
Yes.
Steve Tsunami, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Any of the WPCA members disapprove of the minutes from May 12th? Okay, we have a majority. That motion carries. I'll go into the next item. For those that you may have just called in, I'm just going to keep saying this, repeat it through the meeting for a while. The agenda was messed up on the website. It was the right call-in number at one location and the wrong in another. We have that fixed. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened. So the next item is the budget update and expenses. And for this, I'll hand it over to Doug, our treasurer. Doug, you want to review this again?
Yeah, we had one invoice hit in the month of May for $1,600 for legal charge. It was for work done by, work done on the easement process for the sewers. And I haven't seen a copy of the invoice yet, but I'm waiting for it. I believe that's what it's for. I will verify. And if that's not correct, I'll let you all know. We have one pending invoice from Carmody for the septic reporting system that we installed last year. That's an invoice that will be paid in July. There's been no changes to our carryover accounts. And that's the extent of the report. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Doug. No questions. We'll move on to item number 4, business, the Soundview Miscellaneous Area B project. We got notice that Wood and Kearns Engineering and subcontractors will start surveying the streets this week. That means they'll have somebody who's going to measure where the pipes should go and some of the utilities and some of the ground features. There's a notice on the website for that. They'll eventually do some drilling in some places to, I guess, measure what kind of soil conditions are there. The first item is the status of the cost sharing agreement and discussion. So for those of you who may or may not know, this is the agreement to join the cost sharing agreement. And as we talked about in our last meeting, we had a motion to approve on the condition that the Selectman's office approved. We forwarded the agreement, the then current agreements, to the Selectman's office. They had a meeting and discussed it. From my recollection, there was a couple of things they requested. One is a final version copy, because there were some minor edits in it that we thought it was still a draft mode. And we're working on that. Also, there was a request to see if we terminated the agreement, would we get our money back? And we have since found out from the legal review that the way it's written, we do not get our money back if we terminate the agreement. There was also a question about if it was a binded, if we sign this, is it a binding agreement that the private beach associations would then be required to honor us joining the cost sharing agreement? And it is. So those questions, along with the revised, updated final copy, is being developed, and I imagine it'll go back to the Selectman's office for review and discussion and debate, and in my view, hopefully sign for it. The Board of Finance has also asked to talk about that agreement at the next Board of Finance meeting. That's what I have on this, and I've been involved in this, but also I'll give an opportunity for Frank if he wants to say any additional comments. Frank Chan, the Vice Chair of the WPCA. Frank, do you have any additional comments?
No, other than I think the CSA has been a long process, it is well done. A lot of thoughtful people really gone through the language to make sure that all parties are treated fairly. I think it's beneficial, definitely beneficial to the town and also beneficial to the beach associations. It's a win-win. That's all.
Thank you, Frank. Are there any WPCA members' questions about this before I move on? Okay, not hearing any. I'm going to go to item 4AII, which is benefit assessment items update. We have been working with a benefit assessment consultant, and that benefit assessment consultant has been doing market data. They have requested access to some, I guess, files of our septic systems from over the years, and I'm working with, well, I'm not doing much. I'm asking Jennifer to work with the our WPCA clerk to work with the consultants to gain them access and information. From what I last heard is that Jennifer was making arrangements for the consultants to have access. Is that correct, Jennifer?
That is correct. I reached out and it's in process right now.
Okay. So that process is going forward. We're going to have some discussions with this consultant, get their ideas, but at this time they're still researching before they can give a final report. Are there any questions about that from WPCA members? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to move on to the next item, which is the review of sewer ordinance gap and state requirements update. This is kind of complicated, so I'm happy to hand this over to Frank. So what Frank did is he took a look at the ordinance. I'm going to paraphrase and frame it, I think, and then Frank can correct me. Took a look at the ordinances, took a look at the bylaws and took a look at the requirements, or at least what the state has asked us to add into it. And the idea is that we have to add definitions that cover what we're doing now versus what we did when this thing was first drafted. Frank has proposed a way to try to organize it, and from that I'll be quiet. And Frank, if you'd like to take over and explain this. So go ahead, Frank.
Yep, sure. The current document is called the Wpsa Regulations and Bylaws. Was first was developed based on a town ordinance that established the Wpca in 1995. So since then, a lot of different sections been added. So the current document has both the bylaws and the regulations together. So what I propose to do is to separate out the bylaws, which describe how the Wpca is organized, the composition, the membership, and the officers, and how we run the meetings. So that's the bylaw. It's not the ordinance. It just talks about how the Wpca does its business and how it just select its members and the terms of the membership. So that the bylaws would be in alignment with the original ordinance from the town that established the Wpca, and that's the only thing the bylaw does. And the current document also includes ordinance that belong to other organization, other entities within the town. For example, Appendix A, Wpca Enabling Ordinance, that's the town document, so we really don't have to put it in. Appendix 3 is the Housing Ordinance that belongs to another department, so that's not ours, we don't have to put that in. And Appendix 5 is the Water Standard, that's a public health document. So we don't own those documents, so it should not be in our document because we should just reference it. So we're going to break up the proposals to break it up into bylaws. I have drafted the bylaw section and also the ordinance section. So if you have the file that that Rich sent out a couple of days ago. The bylaw is only 6 pages long, includes the cover page.
Hey, Frank.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the bylaws, I think you identified the first part of that.
Yeah.
Saying, I just want to stop to see if there's any questions by anyone. What I heard Frank say was there's some parts of it that should not be in the ordinance. And the reason why, in my opinion, it shouldn't be in the ordinance is because it's a duplicate document of somewhere else. So it creates a natural conflict if our document doesn't match the most current of that responsible department. Like, for example, the public health document in our document doesn't match the one in the public health document. Frank, did I get that right as far as the first part?
Yeah. The ordinance, there are 3 ordinances. You have the enabling ordinance that established the Wpca. That's the town's document. You have the housing ordinance that belongs to the housing department, that zoning and other stuff. And then the water standard that belongs to public health. So we don't own those documents, but those are the documents we reference in new document. So it doesn't get obsolete because it's in our document. Because for us to change our ordinance, it has to go through the whole cycle of approval. So if other people change stuff, then we go by those ordinance, count as amended. So we're done.
And so you're proposing that we take those out of our document?
Oh yeah, we put that those would go out. And the bylaw itself, it talks about what the Wpca is, its responsibility, membership, officers, the process of expenditure of funds, the support staff, and then the process of changing the bylaw, how we run the meetings, and the order of the meeting. So that really talks about just the operation of the Wpca itself. It's not a sewer ordinance.
I don't see anyone raising hands or interrupting you, so I don't know if there's. Are there any questions from Wpca members related to what Frank's covered so far? Okay, just want to check every now and then.
Okay, so
Frank?
that's only 6 pages long, and I sent that out earlier, but let me finish the other one. Now we get to the Wpca sewer ordinance. So what that does is that it has 2 major sections. One is just, hey, what is the purpose of the ordinance? And then you have another paragraph talks about the associated regulations. So in that section, we list out all the state and public health instructions that are references for this document, because we don't make our own rules, we just follow the state laws and also public health law. So our ordinance is subordinate to those ordinances. And another paragraph in section 1 talks about the enforcement of the ordinance, our authority to enforce those regulations within the ordinance. Now, in section 2, I broke out the different sewage disposal systems. Appendix 1 is called the on-site sewer disposal system, also called septic systems, and that's mostly what we have today. That was included in Appendix 4 of the original document. Appendix 2 is something called the Community-Owned Sewer System, COSS. In the original document, I only have 2 paragraphs. It talks about, apparently, originally in Beach Farm, they were going to do a community-owned system, and that comes under a different state statute. So we added that a long time ago, probably like 20 years ago. We don't have any of those systems. As of now, I'm leaving it in case we have one of those systems. Appendix 3 is alternative/innovative subsurface sewage treatment and disposal system. Those are kind of more the advanced systems in case you your location doesn't allow a conventional septic system. These are the more expensive $30,000 systems. I think some of them are in Osage, but we don't have any of those. Appendix 4 of the ordinance is the municipal sewer system, which is the longest part of the new ordinance. It describes the municipal sewer system that we are developing currently, and also all the regulations associated with the management and enforcement of that system.
So that's kind of a lot there, but what Frank did is he organized it and he then put it in kind of a, added certain spots that were missing. And does anyone have any questions about that?
I think
So-
Frank did a really good job. I mean, the original document that we looked through was important to establish. And, it was a laudable start, but it was kind of clumsy and hard for us to get through. So I think Frank really did a great job organizing and setting a cleaner approach. So thank you.
I agree. If you looked at the original document, it was really rough to try to figure it out. And I don't mean to complain or criticize past work. It's, years and years and years of work. And so we're fixing it and making it better. So Frank, I'll let you continue, and then we'll talk about kind of the next steps of the process here.
So a couple of things. One is the original document talks about the Department of Public Health, which we don't have. We're now in Ledgely Health District. So making sure that we have the proper interface described in the document, that how we coordinate with Ledgely Health District, because they are the public health authority for us.
Is that are you finished?
Yeah, I'm finished.
Oh, okay. So from a priority point of view, I gave Frank some direction and guidance to incorporate the changes that the state needed, which is definitions, because that is key to us as far as our application for funding. And it doesn't mean that the other changes that Frank's making are not important. It's just, I don't want to spend time arguing about some kind of, or debating about some kind of part of it and not putting in these definitions that are required. From what I gather, we're still researching how we're going to do this update. It's a combination of a number of things, I think, because for we do have to do some research on how the Wpca will change things. I think the Wpca's bylaws is one way to change, and then there's ordinances, which is another way to change. Is that, Frank, do you have any to add to that next steps?
Oh, the bylaw, once we smooth that and get concurrence, okay. Let me go back. I just muted myself. The bylaws, once you get the smooth within the subcommittee working this, and we'll go through deliberation within Wpca, and I get concurrence from the town, because what we're doing is actually executing their enabling ordinance for us to establish Wpca. So a majority vote will allow us to pass the bylaw, because it doesn't affect the public. It only affects the operation of the Wpca in accordance with the original enabling ordinance. So,
okay.
Whereas the ordinance that requires the public needs to take a look at it, because it affects them, because we change the rules of, potentially some rules that may be changed. I don't see any changes right now, but the major change is that we're adding the municipal sewer system management. So, and that would be a public comment period. And of course, the town's legal has to review it, make sure that we are not putting out an ordinance that is not in accordance with their ordinance and also with the statute of the state of Connecticut and the public health laws.
Okay. So it's probably a challenging task, but it's not something that's
No,
it's very possible.
I don't think so. It's a pretty linear process.
Okay.
I mean, I think the key is for us to have a smaller group, a subcommittee to go through it and make sure we are in accordance, in alignment with the high level regulations. So we're not making up new rules for.
And we already have a subcommittee, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think from the previous meeting.
Yeah.
So, but ultimately that committee will make a recommendation and finalize the document, and then we'll review it, I think.
Yeah.
So I think that makes sense, that we review it in detail, and if there's something to debate, we debate, and then we propose to a plan of how to do everything, how to change things.
Yeah, no, once we get this move, and we'll put it out for, I think I'm pretty sure we have to put it out for public comments because the ordinance affect the people.
Yes, I completely agree with that. That's the way to go. So yeah, totally agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any questions on anything that Frank and I have said related to the ordinances from WPCA members? Okay. So hearing none, going to move on to the next item, correspondence. Let's see, I've got correspondence. So we had two things of correspondence. Let me see if I can pull it up. One was a Freedom of Information request, and let me see if I can pull that up. A Freedom of Information request from Daniel Tricarico. I'm probably saying that name wrong. I apologize. It was a very broad request. So I provided a response back explaining what documents I think they wanted, asking the First Selectman's office to take over the process of distributing the documents, which is what I always try to do with the Freedom of Information requests. From the previous experience, we want to involve the Selectman's office to document what goes out, the requests, and who gets it, and how to handle it, versus trying to be perceived as playing favorites with somebody who, providing the documents for someone and making go to Freedom of Information requests for others. I don't want to do that, so it's all the same. So it's a quite big request. It's basically saying any and all documents that involved in this plan and emails and everything. And so it's something like in the neighborhood of 430 pages, 438 pages. And we're endeavored to comply with that request. Does any of the WPCA members have any questions about that correspondence? Okay.
Do you realize that is such a large reply? Because sometimes if you have a conversation, we can maybe hone it down.
Well, you're right. But when we get the request, we have to respond. So our response was, here's what we think you want. And there's some documents are so big we can't email them. So when that happens, we give them the cost. And I think it's 50 cents a page for things that we can't email.
Yeah, your response was great. So
and I agree with you that maybe they didn't realize, asking any and all requests for the last 7 years is a lot of documents. So any other comments, questions, concerns?
Yeah, Rich, I mean, is it possible to just burn a CD for the requester?
I have a CD burner in my house. I don't know if it works.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, the traditional methods is an email, but if
Mhm.
it's over like 15 meg file and we have one that's 80 meg,
Mhm.
and so we had, and that's the wastewater plan.
Mhm.
We had that printed out, and we've had people come in and view it in the town hall.
Mhm. Well, that one has the full hours too, so you.
Yeah. So you know, I leave it up to the selectman's office if they can come up with some other media of how to do it. I don't mind giving the documents out. I don't see any. There's nothing secret about it. So
I mean,
it's just.
we can do a CD or DVD would be helpful. The other choice is that if, the requester gets a Gmail account, Gmail actually goes to a cloud server, so you can. I don't think there's a size limit on how big the file is.
You're right, but I leave that to the selectman's office to figure out. But I don't know if we get requests for this. I mean, we try to put stuff on the website too.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, that particular file is in the public domain, and I mean, we could argue it because it's downloadable by the state. You know, because when we submit it for the state approval, they publish it. Just that finding it is a challenge because sometimes it seems that it changes its location. Somebody updates the state website. I've heard residents complaining they can't find it. So any other questions or comments?
Could we provide a link to that site, Rich?
Well, I guess we
might
could.
bring them if it keeps moving.
Well, that's the thing. It has moved. I know a couple times, and I mean, we could try and do that. Put a link on our website to it. I think we have a link on our website to it on the WPCA page. We have a link. I don't know if it's working or not. Maybe that's the problem. Is it's working and then the link doesn't work anymore. But we have a button on our website. I could follow up with that after this meeting. I will follow up on a link to our wastewater plan. I'm writing a note down for myself. Any other comments, concerns from WPCA members? Okay. So there's another correspondence, and this is from a resident, Mrs. Daly, asking a number of ways about why or how the formula was used to define the agreement to the cost sharing agreement. So I've answered her a number of ways, and she's not quite happy with me, apparently. I normally cut off correspondence like 24 hours ahead of this meeting, and I've got some correspondence today which are similar to the same kind of correspondence. So they'll show up in the next meeting. The reason I cut the correspondence off is it's not fair for WPCA members to be blindsided and have to explain or understand something. You know, so I got like emails this afternoon at lunchtime. And I don't normally at work, I don't even have access to that kind of email. I have to wait till I get home. And since I'm working from home, I have access to it. And the gist of her correspondence was she wanted to know the exact formula. And my response has been the engineering groups from us and for Fuss and O'Neill, the private beach associations, they develop an engineering plan and they develop what's called equivalent dwelling units, and those equivalent dwelling units equate to volume. They consider all kinds of things, but generally I think they consider the building size and the building use to kind of determine what kind of estimate volume, but they're also using their engineering experience. And that was the basis, I guess, maybe some would say the starting point for our negotiations with the private beach associations to come up with how much we would share. There is in the contract that we are currently negotiating an option to increase the amount, and there's a petition possibly to decrease the amount over time. But so we have a specific strategy that we're trying to establish, and I feel, and many other members feel, that we're getting the best deal we could to reduce the cost of this project overall. The alternative would be if we did it alone, we know it's more expensive. And you can tell, I think it's a good deal because no one's completely happy, but they're agreeing to the contract, meaning both the private beach associations and the town of Old Lyme's, reviewers are thinking it's okay to sign the contracts, sign the agreement, but, agree that they could get better, I guess, or could want better, but they agree to what the terms are. Frank's been involved in this as well. I don't know if you want to add anything to that comment before we ask any WPCA members the questions.
Yes, Frank Chen here. The EDU numbers for the Private Beach Association and for the town's the area, and they are done by two different engineering firms, professional engineers, using stage-approved methodology to calculate EDUs. And those are the concrete numbers. Those are the numbers that we both agree, both parties agree. I think, if we spend another 2 months and argue about 1 or 2 EDU, comes down to it, and from the percentage standpoint, doesn't mean much. So we're paying 29.7% of the pump house. So I think paying 29.7% is paying better than paying 100%. So I agree with Rich on that.
Yeah, I agree as well. So any WPCA members have questions or concerns about the correspondence? Okay. So we're off that. We're on to item 6, new business. The only new business I thought I'd bring up is the comment that one of the members mentioned earlier is, when are we going to go back to regular meetings? Probably there's also a comment, when are we going to go back to the regular world? But we'll just handle going back to the regular meetings. And I'll give you my point of view. I'm not willing to go back to a regular meeting right now. I don't see a need for it because I think we can accomplish what we need to accomplish through this method. And the fact that I don't see a plan where we have a treatment should someone get sick, or a vaccine to keep people from preventing from getting sick. And I don't want to risk any of the WPCA members or any of the public. That being said, I'm fine with going back if everybody wants to do that. And I understand that the town is going to limit it open sometime at the end of June. So I just bring this up as a discussion point, and I'll open up the mic to anyone in the WPCA members that want to talk about this.
Hey, Rich.
Yeah.
I would recommend, if I had my way, I would say have at least one more remote meeting, see where we are after our meeting in July. I have a feeling it's going to linger a little bit longer based on some current events and trends that I've been seeing around. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Joe. Any other comment?
Yeah, the only thing that I would say, and I'm good with doing WebEx meetings for a while longer, no problem. I think that we need to be sure before we go back, we figure out how we do some sort of, I hate this term, social distancing for us as well as for the public, because the public's going to be sitting in a room. We got to figure out how to separate the chairs so that there's a lot of empty space. And the concern is if we have a contentious topic to talk about some night, and we say, oh, you're going to have 9 people in the room, I don't know how that's going to go over. So I think we got to keep doing the WebEx until we can figure out how to get back together as normal as possible.
Okay, thank you, Doug. That's a good point. Any other people?
One thing I didn't mention earlier was the idea of masks. Would we, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, we were able to have a meeting in town hall. Would we mandate mask wearing along with the social distancing? Or would we, not force people to do that?
I don't know.
I look
I'd
better
have
in a
to
mask.
check. I'd have to check, what that would be. But I think that goes to the idea of we have to come up with a process. And I don't want a WPCA member to feel uncomfortable more than usual for attending these meetings because of this situation. And I know not all of us are spring chickens, so to speak, young people. So we, I don't want, it's not worth it really. And the face-to-face, we do get some benefit of that, but I don't think we get such a tremendous benefit that we have to rush into doing this again. So I'm just, my opinion.
Yeah, it's Jim Burge. I kind of agree with what Joe's saying, and go maybe one more with the video, maybe two more with the video, because as things start to open up and with what's going on in society right now, just keeping an eye on if there's any increase with any viruses, or you get a spike here and there until, like you say, a vaccine is on the horizon.
Okay.
So this is Andrea, and the summer is supposed to be the safest time as far as the COVID-19 goes. We're supposed to have another surge in the fall or late fall. And, it's taken us a few times to sort of get this process to a point where we can even have public comments. So I think this is becoming effective as long as we remember that we could do small task force and still do some face-to-face, try to hear what the public has to say about it today. I mean, if we did have to do a face-to-face meeting with the public this summer, maybe, I know we don't usually do an August meeting, but maybe that would be the sweet spot to do it in, because the data is showing that, we're probably going to have another wave in the late fall, winter.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Andrea.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
I just want to clarify, Andrea, my concern is not that we're going to have a wave in the fall. My concern is that recent behavior is going to encourage, or at least induce an additional wave to the one we're expecting in the fall. That's why I'm being cautious.
Sure, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. Final comments on this subject? Okay. Hearing none. Are there any other new business from WPCA members that I'm not aware of? Okay. So we're moving on. So we're going to do public comment. And the way I think public comment's going to work is, what I'd ask is, Jennifer, if you haven't done this before, the normal process is the public makes a comment, you identify your name. We will record your comment. We will not respond directly to the comment. After we close the public comment sessions, we may or may not respond to that specific issue. We try to limit the time to speaker because everyone's time is valuable, meaning you can speak your section, but we don't want you to go on. And if we feel that you're repeating yourself, we may ask you to speed it up. That's the normal process. Since we're doing this online and through a conference call, what's going to happen is Jennifer, the host, is going to unmute all the microphones. And what we ask you to do is just say your name, and Jennifer will recognize your name, and then you can do your comment. And then when you're done, someone else that wants to say their name and Jennifer will recognize their name, and that way we'll go through the process. So, Jennifer, would you unmute the line? And if anyone wants to make a public comment, could you say your name to be recognized?
I will, and I just want to remind everyone the meeting's being recorded and will be posted on the town's website, YouTube channel.
So does anyone have a public comment? You could just say, hey, my name is John Smith, and we'll recognize you and let you speak.
Frank
Jennifer.
Capilardo.
So I heard a Frank first. Frank, could you say your name again?
Frank Capilardo.
Okay, Frank, you're recognized.
Okay, a question about the benefit analysis you're having your consultant do. I'm not quite sure what the concept of looking at the septic systems has to do with benefit analysis. Maybe you could explain that.
I'm not sure you heard that. You said, could you just repeat that last sentence?
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're having them look at septic systems as part of the benefit analysis, and that's what I heard you say, and I'm not quite sure how that fits into the benefit analysis. I would like you to explain that to me, please.
Okay. Is that your public comment, Frank?
That's it, yes, it's a question.
Thank you, Frank. Anyone else like to make a public comment?
I would. Brian Cornell.
Brian, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Pendergrass, members of the Water Pollution Control Authority. I'm trying to focus carefully on everything that's going on here. And I guess we need to ask you to break this down to layman's terms as opposed to professional opinions and such. My question is this, it's a two-part question and I'll just get through it. What's the common denominator that was used by both the private beach communities and Soundview area community to determine this 70-30 split that I read about? Was it based on the number of physical buildings or assessed value or square footage?
Thank you, Brian. I got your comment.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to make a public comment?
David Mitchell, 64 Columbus Avenue.
David, you're recognized.
Yes, my question was regarding the status of the Hawks Nest Beach groundwater testing program. I think I passed this on to Jennifer, but I noted that the last data is from November of 2019, and just curious as to what test results are we waiting for, and when will they be released to the public website?
Thank you, David. Got it. Any other public comment? If you're trying to make a public comment, we can't hear you. You might be muted. This is new technology for some of us, and okay, so I'm not hearing any new public comment. Was there a request for public comment? Okay. I'm going to close the public comment session, and thank you everybody for making a public comment. I'm going to go through and give you some response that I think might be helpful. I'll invite Frank Chen, the vice chair, to comment, and then any of the other Wpca members to comment if they'd like. There was a question in the beginning about the benefit assessment and concept of septic systems. I believe the reason for the benefit assessment is to look at septic systems is there's a difference in value between a new system and an old system. A brand new system doesn't have much of a benefit if you replace it because it's not depreciated, but an old system does have basically no value. So when you replace it, there's the full value of that. Frank, do you have any comment to add to this item?
No, I mean, if you just install a septic tank and then I think that would be some adjustment make in the benefit assessment because you're not benefiting as much as someone who has a 30-year septic tank.
Right. Does any other WPCA members want to make a comment on this section, on this issue? Okay. There was another one about the breakdown of professional opinion command and what's the common denominator between the 70-30. This was the exact correspondence by Mary Daly repeatedly. And my response to that is the common denominator is 909 EDUs. that's the total number of EDUs. If you back that EDUs up, in the equivalent dwelling unit is equated to a certain amount of volume. That certain amount of volume, then you add it up, and now you have the amount of volume that is operating. The question that was asked before, and I think it's kind of asked it here, do you look at building square foot? Do you look at value of the building? Do you look at all these factors? Generally, the engineers look at the building square foot and the building type and use, but they also use their experience in designing these systems of how much volume is. So the town's engineer put theirs together, the private beach associations puts theirs together. They both look at each other's calculations or their experience or their opinions, and they come up with this amount of volume. And we happen to use EDUs because the EDUs are an equivalent to dwelling units. It doesn't mean an EDU is a house. It means the average house is 1 EDU, a small house is less, a large house is more, a huge building with 5 apartments is more. These kind of things. So in the end, you're using that as a guide, as a reference to come up with an agreement that both sides agree with. I can tell you that, like I said earlier in this meeting, I'm not sure if you were listening or available at that time, we're coming up with an agreement that both sides agree to, but both sides, realize that they probably wish they had a better deal. And we had these conversations in this meeting, not in this meeting, but in this committee over the years, trying to say, how can we do this? To say that we could probably say to the private beach associations, we're only going to buy in at 10% or something like that, they would have to agree to that, and they don't, because they're not stupid, and I hope we're not stupid either. So we have an agreement, and I think, as Frank said, the agreement we have now, I think, is a really good deal. It saves us money, it saves them money. The alternative is if we do it ourselves, and we instead of 30%, we pay 100%. So I'll be quiet. I don't know, Frank, if maybe I stole your lines, but do you have any comment you want to add to that?
Yeah, the EDU has got the standard normalized unit to count as a proxy for the volume that a dwelling might generate. So officially, I think EDU equates to like 2.36 person, and each person 75 gallons a day. So the states use that as a standard measure in terms of to estimate sewage volume. So it's a state accepted normalized unit. So they agree to it, and also they approve the plan for both the town and also for the private beach association based on their professional experience.
Thank you, Frank. Does any other WPCA members want to comment? Okay, moving to the last comment. There's a question about the status of the Huxley Beach testing and results from 2019 and no new results. We finished our plan to do testing. For us to do additional testing would require us to spend additional money, and we don't think we need to do that. We also are not getting pressure like we did in the past from the state. They allowed us to submit reimbursement funds for all the work that we've done. Then they could have said, sorry, you can't submit that until the plan is done, but we completed the plan that they agreed to. And we also were allowed to prioritize the sewer projects over the Hawks Nest testing. It doesn't mean that we're not doing testing. We all have some subcommittee work to try to come up with some additional ways to review that results. So we basically have completed the actual taking of samples part of the project. And should we do some additional interpretation and say we need to repeat certain things or throw things out or say we may petition to do that, which would be an amendment to our plan, and those have to get approved. So that's the status, really. That's why there's no new data on the website. And I should point out that every time we did a round of testing was $4,000. and a little change. I think $4,000.16. So I'll lend the microphone over to Frank, and then anyone else in the WPC committee that would like to comment. Frank, would you like to comment about the status?
Yes, Frank Chen here. The data collection phase of the testing's done in accordance with the approved plan by the DEP. So what we're doing now is to Joe Carpentino is trying to get an expert to analyze the data to make a determination of the data we have collected. Mostly to make sure that that the stage is not overanalyze it or demanding more from the town. So the independent assessment that we're trying to acquire give us that protection, and also as a check and balance to DEP.
It should also be noted that the Wood and Curran part of our project is they have their own interpretation expert, and that's part of the plan that they're have to finalize the report. In the end, there will be a report that gets submitted to public comment and submitted to the state. Does anyone else want to make a comment on that section of the comments?
This is Joe Carpentino. So yeah, as Rich and Frank mentioned, I'm on the committee to help identify an independent consultant to evaluate these data. Full disclosure, with the onset of the current pandemic, it's been a little difficult to get regular correspondence. However, my goal to the public and to the WPCA and everybody else on this call is to have at least a list of candidates that meet the criteria that we set forth.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for doing the job too. Okay, so that's it. Did anyone have any additional? Well, I think that's it. That's it, actually. So now we're moving to the adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn? Somebody.
Motion to adjourn.
That was Steve. A seconded?
I'll
I
second
will
it.
second it.
Okay, Doug seconded. I'm just going to do all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. The meeting's over. I thank everybody for attending, and if you have any questions, obviously you can contact the website and send us an email, or we'll see you next month. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.
Good night.
Bye.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you, Jennifer, for your hosting. Good job.
And Rich, oh, I think I stopped the recording. The EIE is on the website, but I don't think the coastal wastewater management